All right. All right. Good morning, Facebook friends. It's Mark Prather here with Mark One Wealth Academy. Here's what we're going to talk about is how to accelerate your retirement timeline. You know, most people want to retire as soon as possible. Now, I say that because I'm not one of those people. I like working. I think I'd go crazy if I didn't work. But in any case, I want to talk to you about how you can accelerate your retirement timeline dramatically. This week, I received a phone call from one of the agents that we work with, and they had a client, and what the question was about the client was, Mark, what do you think about my retirement plan, my retirement strategy, and the course that I'm on? And what was exciting about this, and frankly for me great fun, is that the client was 29 years old. So it was a young guy, and so we sat down and did the analysis. So I'm going to share with you this analysis. But before I get into this and show you how you can radically accelerate your timeline, this process is so critical to know, this strategy or this path, especially for the people that are 50 plus. The number of people today that are 50 plus that retirement, it just got blown away 10 years ago with the financial meltdown in 2008, 2009. They lost everything. It's been a major setback, and for many, in their mindset is that I'm not going to be able to retire. It's too late. Too many years have gone by, and I'm going to have, I'm starting from scratch, and I'm going to have to just, work, the duration. And I want you to know that is not true. That is not the case. Well, let me qualify that. That's the case if you're going to try to do it in a 401k or an IRA. But I'm going to share with you a better way, a far better way. So for those of you that are 50 plus, this path, and what we're going to review today, is literally life altering, and it's a lifesaver. It will put you in a good place in half the time. Those of you that are millennials, like this gentleman I spoke to a couple days ago, who's 29 years old, we can position him where he can retire by about 44, 45 years old. So when you think about how many of you young people would like to be in that place. So anyway, let's jump into it. And this is everything you're about to see. These are real numbers. This is a real scenario. This is not something I'm just making up. All right, so here's the scenario. Gentleman's single, 29 years old, purchased a duplex in Los Angeles a year ago for $410,000. He bought FHA, put his 3.5% down, so his total down payment is $14,350, and his closing costs were basically taken care of for him. Today, we did a market analysis. The agent did the market analysis, and said basically the market value a year later is $446,000. So he's done quite well, and this is typical of properties pretty much anywhere in Southern California. I mean, property value appreciation has been good nationally, but it's been phenomenal in California. So his equity growth is $56,000. So the first point in doing this analysis, invested $14,350. A year later, look how much that $14,000 has grown. His net profit, $42,000. So to quantify this in return, his return on investment is 295%. Now here's the point I want to address on the return on investment number. Is this year, in the last 12 months, year over year, the stock market has had a phenomenal year. Phenomenal. 30%. As good as 30% sounds, how does it compare to 295%? If we look at this 14,000, What's 14,000 times 30%? Well, 10,000 times 30 is 3 grand. 15,000, 4,500. So we're talking about $4,500 if you had put this money in the stock market in net profit versus 42,000. Huge, huge difference. All right. Here's the first thing we started with. What I always start with is we need to analyze where you are today and then where you're going. In other words, if you keep doing exactly what you're doing now, where are you going to end up? So ask the question, do you have a 401k or an IRA? Yes. I have a 401k. Is that your retirement plan? Yes. How much money have you saved so far? I got $12,000 in my 401k, and I'm saving $400 a month. Now that's better than most people, and especially for a young guy. The average person in this country saves less than $200 a month. So he's doing a good job there with his savings. But here's the analysis that we did. Is we sat down, we analyzed it and said, okay, if you stay on the path that you're on right now with this savings path rate, where are you going to be in 30 years? The projected 401k wealth growth is $495,000. So we're going to call it $500,000. His projected retirement timeline is 59 and a half, basically 30 years. That's as soon as you can start pulling money out of your retirement. So there are many flaws with the 401k. One of the seminars I do is on the 4 major flaws, but you can see in here, this is probably the flaw that irritates me the most, is that you don't get any income between now and 59 and a half without getting penalized severely. So if he does a fantastic job saving in a 401k and wants to retire early, can't do it. Not in a 401k or an IRA, because otherwise he can get penalized. The soonest is 59 and a half. Now, if you're a millennial, to me, that's crazy. If you're a millennial and you have your act together, and when I say act together, you get the big picture that saving money and investing and building financial security is important, and you're not out to lunch on that. But you're focused on that. Why do you want to wait 30 years? There's only one reason. Because you don't know any better. You don't know any other way. I'm going to show you the better way. 15, 16 years is easy to do if you know what you're doing. Here's where this gentleman is going to be if he stays on the current path. $500,000 is going to create about $30,000 a year, or call it $2,500 a month in retirement income. Now, at 59 and a half, if we go forward 30 years with inflation and the cost of living, you think he's going to be able to retire on $2,500 a month? And there's no Social Security. Not at 59 and a half, right? So not only does he have to wait for 30 years and cranking away, saving as much as he can, getting no financial help along the way. And then he has the limitations on how he can actually invest that money. So now he's 59 and a half, he's got $2,500 whopping dollars to live on. Can't really retire on that, and he has no Social Security. So the reality is, his timeline is, if we get to 59 and a half, he has no choice but to start living on his principal, meaning his life savings. If he starts pulling out that money in his life savings, what's going to happen? Two bad things happen. His monthly retirement income starts to decline because the principal is declining. And because the principal is declining, he's starting to move toward the mode of running out of money. And that's no good. Who wants to run out of money? In today's world, the average person now, life expectancy is 80 plus. The projections for that are only more. So you look at 59 and a half, he needs to do a 30-year life expectancy at 89. You can run out of money, absolutely. So what it puts is, it puts this pressure that you have to live ultra frugally You have to live like this miser to try to stretch your money as long as possible. And if you're fortunate enough to make it to where you don't run out of money as a senior, hardly anything's left. So if you have children and leaving a legacy wealth, out of the question. So this is the path that he's on. Let me show you the alternative, and far better alternative. So here's the better strategy. Is we turn his duplex into a rental property outright. Now, currently, and first I got to give this guy props in the back for a young guy, is he bought a duplex from the get-go. Super smart move. He rented the back unit, it's a 1-bedroom, for $11.50. The unit that he's living in, the front unit, is a 3-bedroom. So I asked him, so what do you think you could rent it for? He goes, minimum $2,500, probably $2,650. So all the numbers you're going to see here are conservative numbers. So we use the $2,500. He turns that into a rental. So today, we're looking at $3,650 a month in rental income in a property he's only had a year. His current mortgage payment, this is everything, PITI, mortgage insurance, the whole enchilada here, $2,723 is his mortgage payment. So you can see we have a nice positive cash flow of $927. If we accelerate his mortgage payment, if we increase it to $3,686, we're going to accelerate the timeline to pay this property off and own it free and clear in 15 years. So I want you to look at that. He's got $3,650 he could have in rental income. So basically, we're looking at taking that full rental income, his contribution, meaning his dollars, to reaching that $3,686 is $36. It's nothing. And now we accelerate the timeline to 15 years to own that property free and clear. In 15 years, it gets much better. This projected rental income is, I used a 4% inflation rate for the rents. And here's where I arrived at that number. The national average for rent increases is about 3.5%. In California, it's 5%. So I only took 4. So 4% is a very, very real number. Just to give you kind of a quick idea, an example, $2,000 rent payment, that's an $80 bump a year. $2,500 a month is $100. So that's for the 4%. That's a very, very realistic number. But in 15 years, now, I want you to know, 15 years, he now has a property paid for free and clear, $6,573 in rental income from the property. Now he's going to have property taxes and insurance on the property. Now, he may or may not have management fees as far as property management, whether he chooses to do it himself or not. But we look at that property at $6,573. We deduct the property taxes, insurance. He's minimum going to have about $5,500 a month in net positive cash flow just on this one property. Now, compare that to the 401k or IRA scenario. It was $2,500, less than half. This scenario, we're looking at a net of about $5,500 a month. And so what's important to understand is that this never runs out. Not only does it never run out, is its index for inflation at 4%. Inflation in this country historically has averaged about 3%. So we're ahead of inflation. So the situation, and this is important, our situation is getting better, not worse. As the years go by, we're ahead of inflation and we're getting better and better. And see, this is the number one reason why the gap between the rich and the poor is getting wider and wider and wider. And why and when I said rich and poor, I said rich and middle class and poor. It's not only getting wider and wider, but the middle class and the poor, their circumstance is getting worse and worse and worse because they are trailing inflation. 90% of the people in this country own only their home or rent. depending on what part of the country you're in, about 7 to 10% of the people in this country own investment real estate, meaning 2 or more properties. So 90% of the people, here's my point, I want you to get this, really important to understand this. 90% of the people only own their home or rent. Now in California, in Southern California, 50% rent, 50% own. Nationally, the number is a little bit higher. Historically, the national number was about 63, 64% of the people are homeowners. That dropped after the meltdown and has not come back fully. But I want you to look at this. Here's the core point. For 90% of the people, they are trailing inflation. They're not keeping up with inflation. That 3% inflation rate is running higher than, and that means their expenses are running higher than their income. And this is why they're all living on their life savings. And this is why when you look at the wealth growth of the top 10%, top 5% control 63% of the wealth, top 10% control 77% of the wealth. Why? Because they're ahead of the game on inflation. They're winning the inflation game. Pretty much everybody else, and the farther down you move on that, if you're below the 80 percentile, those people between 80 and 90 are basically treading water. 80% down are losing the inflation battle, and they're losing it in a bad way. All right, let's move on. Better strategy part 2. So we turn his rental, or he turned his duplex and the property he's living in the front unit into a rental. He purchased a new resident, purchase price $500,000. New 30-year mortgage payments, $3,306. That's everything, PITI. But if he was to finance it on a 15-year basis with a $4,566 a month payment, he will have this property paid for free and clear. So keep in mind, he has that positive cash flow of $900 plus that he can apply to pay off the other one. Now he's going to step up his mortgage payment. Now if he goes to the 15-year loan, on this, he's looking at a jump of close to $2,000 a month. So he may or may not be able to do that. But here's where one of the key factors as far as where you are in life as far as timeline. If you're someone that's 50 years old, in 15 years you're 65, you have that supplement of retirement of your Social Security income to help assist with the acceleration of your retirement and that assistance. Now this guy, because he's 29, he will not have that. But each year, here's how we can also make up some of that money. Is that, in fact, let me go back because I want to make sure you're with me on this. Okay, $4,566 the mortgage payment, right? So here's where the strategy is. Each year he's getting pay raises. Income's going up there, but also his rents are going up. As the rents keep going up, we started and we showed that he has that $1,000 a month, basically extra, applying to the principal. So if we bump his rent each year at the 4%, and we take that excess, that extra, let's say we take what's 4% of $3,000, $120. So we're talking about $150 a month bumps every year in rents on that property. If we take that and apply that to, and here's what I would recommend to the guys, is not getting the 15-year mortgage, but getting a 30-year mortgage, but making the extra payment so that he has the choice. He said, okay, if I need to pay the $3,300, I can pay the $3,300. But each year as he bumps the rent $150, we apply that $150 toward the mortgage payment. So instead of paying $3,306, year 2 we're paying, well, we had, let's say $150, that'd be $3,450, let's say. And year 3, now we're upwards of $3,600 and so on. We're still accelerating the payment significantly to accelerate that, so he owns his next property that he's living in free and clear, and can get to a place where at 45, 46 years old he can exit and become financially secure or retire if he wants. Now, obviously, we're just stopping here showing this as far as just 2 properties, and that's it. But he stays the course with it. If he stays the course with his 401k, income in 15 years, 0. Why? 29 plus 15 is 44. He's getting 0 income for the next 15 years. It's actually worse, right? It's 0 income for the next 30 years. 0 help. Income in 30 years, $29,750, $24.79 a month. That's where he's looking. If he continues investing in real estate, his rental income in 15 years is $65.73. Huge, huge gap. And again, number one mistake people make with their retirement plan is the strategy is about save as much as I can to live on my life savings. That's no good. We do not want to save and live on our life savings. 2 most important rules to investing. Rule number 1, never spend your principal. Learned that 30 years ago. Never spend your principal. If your strategy is to live on your life savings, it's the wrong strategy. It's that simple. Rule number 2. See rule number 1. It's everything. We want to build a legacy of wealth. We want to build wealth that you can live on the earnings, that you can pass that legacy on. So we've not only changed the course of your life and improved it, but we want to change the course of the lives of your children and your heirs. So this is how we can do it, is we can create this rental income that will never run out. If the second property is a duplex, and in this gentleman's case, as I said, he purchased his duplex. If he can find another property identical to that, where it's got a front unit, 2-3 bedroom front unit, lives in that, has a little 1-bedroom, studio or type of setup, and he rents that second one. The second property is a duplex, that's what we talk about. That's the goal, is to get another property just like what he has now. The rent income on that property will grow from the $1,050 to $1,890 in this 15-year timeline. Total income, $84.63. So if he buys a duplex, if he was to buy another property just like the one he has, 15 years he can retire. He will absolutely have this property paid for in 15 years, have it paid off, and have this kind of monthly income. Now, if you're a millennial and you're not on this path, you're crazy. You're going to work yourself trying to save. You're going to work till you're 59.5 minimum, and probably more like 62 to 65, because you're going to need the Social Security income on top of the 401k income to live on, and then you're going to be living on your life savings. So you're going to need all 3 forms. You're going to need your Social Security income, you're going to need the earnings on your 401k, and it's still not going to be enough, and so you're going to have to live on the principal of your 401k or IRA. All of that is bad. And your quality of life, who knows where it's going to be. Depends on how well you manage your expenses, but that is not a good place to be. In this situation, now, wouldn't you rather be 44, 45 years old with $8,400 a month in income? And do you think this gentleman, this is if he's only on this property a year, he gets into the second one. Do you think he can do this again in the next 15 years? And the obvious answer is absolutely. Now, this guy is doing really well with his job as far as his income growth. So the average person is not in a place where a year later, because he's got the money saved up in addition to his 401k, so he can come up with the $20,000 to go buy another property. He's got that money, so we're taking action right now. So the agent's out looking for a property and looking for another duplex, so he's in a great place. The average person can't do it that fast. The average person is more about like a 4 to 5 year timeline. So here's my point to this as far as strategically. You look at doing this every 5 years. You can do this every 5 years because of the combination of appreciation, principal pay down, rent increases, cash flow improvement, and you can do this without saving money. Now, if you can save, that makes it even better. But if you can't save, the intrinsic wealth growth because of appreciation, principal pay down is going to help you to create the money that you need so that you can continue to purchase other properties and make this situation even better. Every millennial, this is the way to go. You'd be out of the game, and when I say the game, the rat race, man, of working, the 40, 50, 60 hours that you're probably working in your 40s. House payment in 15 years, 0. So what you do now? Now's the time. It's always about taking action. And this is probably the part that I want to come across and tell you got to take action. Because here's what I run into with so many people, is their belief system. They don't believe there's any other way. Your whole life you've heard your path to financial security and wealth is through saving money. No, it's not. Saving money is not the only way. In fact, saving money is not even the best way. The best way is understanding the components of how to build your wealth exponentially. That's another educational process. I showed you some of the moving parts here. We can get into that. So change your mindset, open your mind to the idea of you can get there in 15, 16 years. You absolutely can get there. But you need to know the path, and we need to analyze where you are. Every one of us, our situation is different. But if you have a job, you have decent credit, meaning a FICO score north of 600, 620 or better, and you can get in the game. If you're above 700, even better, because you're going to get the better pricing. Go to mark1wealthacademy.com. Go to our website. Get our free ebook. You're going to see a lot of facts. I just updated it with some new information. So get our free ebook with that. Let's do a retirement analysis. Let's do this analysis to determine where you are. And then we can schedule your How to Become Rich consultation. In this consultation, we first start off what we call a financial freedom analysis. In that financial freedom analysis, we analyze where you are right now. Meaning, how much are you making? What do you have saved? How much are you able to save? What are all your expenses? And then we project out and say, okay, based on inflation and your expenses and income growth and so on, where are you going to be in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years? So we factor that in. So with the freedom analysis, we know, okay, based on your path, and like this gentleman here, based on his path, he's on a far better path than most people, but he's still going to have to live on his life savings. So we want to look at that now. With How to Become Rich, we start to take what you have in income and ability to save and debts and so on, and we strategically lay out a plan so you know exactly what to do, so there's no guesswork. So we lay out that plan so that you know what to do. And one of the things we didn't get into here is we have the financial reports that we have a proprietary tool book, or I should say website we call MarkWin Tools, that we get into calculating all these specific analysis depending on where you are and what's your situation, whether you're a renter, a homeowner, or investor, and so on. So we'll lay out that plan. So go to our website, mark1wealthacademy.com. You can email me, and we can start that process, whether it's a phone conversation, depending on where you are geographically. We have Wealth Academy advisors now are expanding. We're in now 4 states, which is super exciting. So if you're in different regions of the state, the country, what have you, we've got people that can help you with laying out these plans. So go to mark1wealthacademy.com and let's start this journey of getting you to not just retirement, not just financial security, but serious wealth, so we can change the course of your life and change the course of your children's lives and really build this legacy of wealth. That's what's super exciting to me. Next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we're doing a webinar. You can register for the webinar. You'll see this on Facebook. You can see it on the Wealth Academy. It's from 4 to about 4:45. It is the most powerful presentation, educational presentation we have. I call it How to Turn $1,000 into $100,000 without ever saving a nickel. How to turn $1,000 without ever saving a nickel. You're going to learn the difference between linear wealth, which is what about 90% of the people do. They rely on linear wealth, which is either saving in the bank or saving in a 401k or IRA, versus exponential wealth, and how to multiply your wealth growth from anywhere from about 12 times to as much as 30, even 35 times faster. And you can do this you can never do it without some level of risk. There's always some level of risk, but you can do it where the risk is really minimal and you can understand the risk. Our forecastability on this is extremely high. You need to see, if you haven't seen this presentation, you need to see this. Invite your friends to see this. It will change the course of your life. That's a big statement. I know it is, but I guarantee you, everybody that sees this educational presentation, their enlightenment of their path to wealth is changed radically. Next Wednesday, 4 o'clock, we'll be doing this live. Have a great weekend. We're not going to be doing the next 2 weeks. We have Christmas coming up and New Year, so we're going to be quiet the next couple weeks. So we'll be boosting some of our previous Why the Rich Stay Rich shows. If you have any questions, again, reach out to me on the website. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will talk to you after the first of the year. Thank you, everyone.